everybody, I'm Mr. B. Don't forget to like this video if it teaches you anything, and of course subscribe to the channel. Today we have a 1987 Toyota pickup truck. It has the 22 RE engine in it, and it also has a manual transmission, 5-speed in it, with a manual transfer case. And we are doing some preventive maintenance on it because we just put a used transmission in it that we got from the local junkyard, and the old transmission had some serious issues. We took it apart, and it was just cheaper to get a used transmission than to fix it. So we got this used transmission in, we put it in this week, and I'm going to change the fluid out. So the fluid in a transmission like this, a manual transmission, and also, you know, this video is going to apply to a lot more than Toyota pickup trucks. So if you've got any manual transmission, normally they all work about the same way, and they all fill and drain the same way. So this transmission here, you know, I don't know the age of it. I don't know how many miles it's got, anything like that. The truck itself is low miles, only 137,000 miles on it. So I figured best shot is to go ahead and fill it up with a known good fluid and make sure that it's going to last a long time. So the tools you need, I'm going to show you over here on the bench. This vehicle right here takes 2.5 quarts of, and the specification on this is a little weird because they said either 75, 90, 80, 90, or straight 90 weight. So I would recommend if you live in a colder climate, going to like a 75, 90, or if you're in a very warm climate, going to like a straight 90 weight, or if you live somewhere in the middle like I do, I'm going to go 80W90. Now the fluid that we use, nothing special. It just takes a standard off-the-shelf fluid with no additives. However, if you want to run something like a Royal Purple or a Redline or whatever, by all means, pick whatever fluid you feel comfortable with. So let's go over here to the table and I'll show you what you're going to need to do. Okay, so here are the tools that we are going to use and the materials we need for this job. The only thing that's missing is going to be a drain pan that we're going to use to catch any of the old fluid out of. And of course, put that into a responsible container. That way we don't introduce any pollution into the groundwater or anything like that. Don't drain this out into oil. Also, used gear oil goes the same place that regular used oil goes. So we have this. This is some tubing here. You may need this. I think I'm going to need this on this job because what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these bottles. Here's my fluid here. And I'm going to cut this little tip off here. And I'm going to put this on this. Oops, dropped it. I'm going to put this on here. And I'm going to squeeze the fluid into the car and use this tubing to help get around any components underneath there that's kind of in the way. If you're not doing this on this vehicle, you may have a straight shot just to go ahead and dump this fluid in. However, on this car, the exhaust runs right in front of it, so I'm going to need something to kind of go around. You're also, if you're doing it on this car, you're going to need either a 24 millimeter or a 15/16 wrench to take the drain plug off, and you're going to need a 17 millimeter to take the fill plug off. So I'm going to go ahead and get the car jacked up and show you where those both are and commence the changing of the fluid. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do is locate the fill and drain plug. So our drain plug is right here. That's the 15/16 or the 24 millimeter. And our fill plug is going to be up here. It's going to be normally about halfway up any transmission that you deal with. So this is what I recommend. You need to, before you drain the fluid out, you need to make sure that your fill plug will come out. The reason why is if this gets stuck, okay, if your fill plug gets stuck, then if you drain it all out, you have no way to put fluid in. So take your fill plug out up here first, and then your drain plug. You want to make sure that this is going to come out. And this one's on here fairly easy. So your fill plug is going to have a washer on it on this vehicle. And it may have a magnet, just depending on what type of vehicle you have. But there's your fill plug. You're just going to put this off to the side. And now the fun part, we're going to drain out this stinky oil from this transmission. And again, capacity on this is only 2.5 quarts. So you don't need too huge of a container to get it out. And we're just going to let that drain. It looks a little milky, so it's probably had some water in it at some point. Maybe the other owner of this truck sunk it at one point or something like that. And this is why, you know, if you sink your truck or something like that, you definitely want to change your fluid out. The main reason being that water is going to get inside your transmission. Of course, that can cause corrosion. So it doesn't take too long for this stuff to come out. And we're down to a trickle. So it's going to get down to a trickle. I'm going to go ahead and put the plug back in. Make sure it screws in straight. You don't want to cross thread this. It could cost you a whole transmission case. And then when we tighten it back up, you don't have to go too crazy on it. Just give it a good tug. There's probably a torque specification for it, but don't ask me because I didn't look it up. And we're done with draining. Now we are going to fill. Okay, with the fill, it's a little bit more complicated. So I have our bottle with our hose, and I have it duct taped actually to the end here, and I got the edge cut off. So the fill hole is right here, but you see you have all this stuff in the way. So what we're going to do is we are going to thread this up through here and stick it in the fill hole. There it is. Trying to stay out of the way of the camera. And so we have this, and now we are going to fill this up until it drips out of the hole. Now I'm using clear tubing. You don't have to use clear tubing. I just kind of like to see the fluid going through. So I'm going to hold this up, this bottle, I'm going to hold it up around halfway up the door, and this will drain the fluid into the transmission by gravity. You may, when you have it pushing through there, you may want to cut a hole in the top, in the bottom of the bottle to let air in so the fluid will fill in faster. This stuff is going to go in pretty slow because it's so thick. Now, I'm going to stop the camera and go ahead and put the rest of this fluid in, and then I'm going to show you what happens when you fill it up and when you're full. So what I've done is I just laid this bottle and I cut a hole in the top of it, and I just stuck it in my mirror brace. And what you want to do is you want to elevate that bottle above where the fill hole is, and gravity will do the rest. All you have to do is cut a hole in the bottom of the bottle to let air come in and equalize the pressure, and then it should just flow right in the transmission. Now, this is one of the slower ways to do this, okay? They do sell the little $10 pumps you put in a bottle and you pump it in just like, you know, hand soap. And those work well. And to be told, you know, I've got a $3,000 BG machine that I could be doing this with. However, I'm wanting to show you guys kind of how to do it in your driveway. So if you have this, if you can elevate it above the transmission and get that fluid to flow through there, again, it takes time, but it's the cheapest, easiest way to do this. Okay, it just started to trickle out a little bit. So we are full. So basically what happens is the transmission will fill up and it'll start coming out of the hole, the fill hole, and that is going to let us know that the transmission is full. So all we have to do now is, if I can figure out how to work around this hose here, we'll put this plug in. And all we have to do is just tighten it up. So this isn't the fastest way to do this, guys. If you are in a hurry, you're going to need to get you a pump. It takes forever. You see how this is just trickling into the transmission. So it takes a while to do, probably about 30 minutes a bottle to put in. So you can kind of see that this is definitely not the fastest way to do it, but it is definitely the cheapest way. So let me get this wrapped back, and I'll see you when we lower the car. Okay guys, remember, if this video taught you anything, to like the video and of course subscribe to the channel. Remember also to check your specification, make sure you're putting in the correct gear oil, and make sure that you're changing it at the right times and the right service intervals. So I recommend really nobody go over 100,000 miles on this type of conventional gear oil, but you need to check your manufacturer's information to make sure that you're changing it on time and correctly. Also, I know this takes a long time doing this way, but you know, if you are in a hurry, go ahead and grab you one of those pumps that go into the bottle, and it makes life a lot easier. I just wanted to show y'all the most easiest and cost-efficient way to get this fluid in your car, even though it's not the most time efficient. So hit me up on Facebook, hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, VK. I even got on Dispo this week. And also don't forget, I have a podcast called Autocorrect with Mr. B. You find it on Spotify, pretty much anywhere you find podcasts. We haven't been accepted to Apple yet, but it's coming soon. So I just put out episode 7 on that, talking about a reality show that I just shot. So definitely check that out. I talk about as much as I can on there. And we'll see you next time.